Hey everybody, I'm Nick with A+ Building Maintenance and Home Repair. I brought along my buddy Glenn. This is actually my nephew. He's actually the office manager. You actually gave yourself a new title from my understanding, general manager. He's the man behind the curtain, the guy you talk to all the time. He makes sure that our guys are on time. You have a problem, he's the guy that has to deal with it. So I asked Glenn to come along, and we wanted to start putting together some new videos for our website. We've been doing videos for the past 3 or 4 years with the local news channels. We've been putting them together for Let's Fix Her Up, a great home improvement show. So if you ever want to check those guys out and contact Mike Jameson, just go to letsfixherup.com and see a lot of cool stuff. Mike Jameson's a great guy. But what's cool, the reason I wanted to start this is because when I am doing shows and shoots commercials for, let's say, the local TV shows and for even Let's Fix Her Up, I'm limited to how much I can talk. And the bottom line is I have a lot to say. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. Today, I felt that since this is our first time that one of my shows are going to be on our website, that we need to talk. The first thing is, why did A+ get started?
Good question.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, how did you get in business? I've heard, and a lot of people want to answer it for me and say, oh, I bet you went to trade school for this. I think that you must have grew up around all this, or something along those lines. This is the honest answer about that whole thing. I started this business not knowing anything. I started this business technically I started doing home improvements approximately 13, 14 years ago. I had worked actually 2 jobs. I worked in different trucking companies, and I started buying investment property. I've always heard, my father was into investment property, he bought quite a few rentals. I actually grew up on a farm. He did do home improvements from time to time, but I wasn't around that so much. But I bought a house that had been empty for about 10 years. I'll never forget the feeling of me walking into that house and thinking to myself, I don't know what the hell I got myself into. Okay, I think you kind of remember that. It was a nightmare.
New world.
And, I learned really quick. I actually had to teach myself how to use a caulk gun, and people laugh about that. I used the squeeze tubes you get at Myers, Home Depot, Lowe's. I never used a caulk gun. So, anyhow, I actually started learning home improvements, and I also got a crash course on what it feels to hire contractors. I was under the same assumption as everybody like yourself that's out there, that you go in the phone book, there's a professional company, you call them, they give you a bid, if you can afford it, they do the work, they get it done, and you're good to go. In a perfect world, that sounds awesome. But as we both know, and I found out, it doesn't always work that way. I had so many issues with hiring anywhere from roofers to electricians. It didn't matter, it was every field I had issues with. I have had problems. I remember I had a leak, even in the house I live today, and I had paid a man to redo the roof, and it leaked like a month later. I went back up there, I paid this man to tear off my entire flat deck and put new. I go up there, and I find that it's really spongy in one area. Like, what the heck? I thought this guy put all new roofing shingles and stuff on. So I could not afford, like I said, I worked for 2 companies. I had a couple babies at home, and I started tearing this roof off. I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. That's always been my mentality, because even doing rental properties, roofing was the last one I actually really jumped into. So I was really nervous about putting roofing down, because obviously you got to keep water on your house. Yeah. So I was nervous about laying shingles. Right, I didn't know what all I had to do. This is true, man. The roof was the last one I actually started doing. I started tearing this roof off, and I find the guy replaced no wood, and in a hole, he took a whole bundle of 3-tab shingles and crisscrossed them over the hole to make it smooth, and then rolled roofing on top of that. Couldn't believe it. I could have choked this man. And because you got to imagine, I was barely making ends meet. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I did just like everybody. I hired a man out of the phone book, gave me a great deal. I was like, well, and I was basically ignorant. And just thought, well, sounds good. Well, I ended up paying for the job twice. So I ended up, doing a lot of this work myself, because I ended up getting a lot of anxiety from hiring contractors. And that was just one of many horror stories. You know, I've had inspectors come back out after a contractor got done, it failed, and red flag it, and then I'm paying another contractor coming in there fixing it that I already paid a man to do. So I ended up taking the mentality is if you can do it, I can do it. I'm done. You know, I was working here, like I said, at a trucking company. I was an operations supervisor, and I had over 40 men working under me, and I'm like, the only difference that you have that I don't have is knowledge. And you know what, there's a lot of books out here. And back then the internet was still coming on, but it wasn't as predominant as now. I hit the books. I have books on top of books now that I read. I still to this day will reference when someone asks me to do a job that we haven't done very often. I'll double check to make sure that I'm not stepping on myself. And so do you, I actually do. So anyways, I'll never forget, I walked into a doctor's office one time, and a doctor actually came and looked at me. He wasn't my normal, he actually was a dentist. Actually asked me, was going to work on my teeth, and ended up asking me questions about if I do construction. I thought it was really weird. He's one of those guys that like to talk to you with their hands down your throat. And I'm trying to answer, you know, really stupid. And he says to me, he goes, well, do you know how to install doors? I know how to install doors. And he goes, well, how do you install a door? Okay, that's kind of a random question. Okay, well, I explained.
Yeah,
from
the dentist.
Right. How do I? Okay. I mean, seriously, my face is all numb when I'm trying to talk to this guy, trying to picture them. You know. Anyways, I said, well, what kind of door are you doing? Just slab, a pre-hung? And he says, slab. I said, well, you got to measure the opening, and then you trim it to size. You cut a 2-degree bevel on the latch side. He goes, 2-degree bevel? What's that? I said, well, it's just an angle. You put a slight angle, it's 2 degrees, so that when the door shuts, comes to the latch, it doesn't rub. Well, come to find out the guy didn't know everything there was to know about installing doors. He just liked the fact I understood the language, the knowledge. Ended up hiring me, and right off the bat, I'm going to tell everybody, I did not ever want to work for anybody. I was always told from not only my own father, but had been in the business, your grandfather. He advised me not to. He goes, work on your own houses, you know, don't worry about working with customers, blah, blah, blah. So, but in any event, my teeth were wrecked. And because I was in a car accident when I was a kid, so I ended up doing this work for this man, and we ended up basically like trading services in a way. And he was so impressed with the amount of work and how quickly we got it done, he asked if he could hand my phone number over to his daughter because he wanted to give a present and buy her a deck. Still to this day, I ended up doing the deck, and still to this day, the largest deck that I've ever built. It was crazy big. And from there, they were so impressed. That was actually one of the few jobs your grandfather, before he got really sick, worked with me on. Went ahead and started handing out my number. Within 3 or 4 months, my phone was ringing so much, like I said, I was working 2 jobs. I cut out the part-time job, made that my part-time job. 3 months after that, I had to do this full-time. So, you know, that's how the business started, and it was basically word of mouth. You know, I made a lot of mistakes as far as pricing goes. That was my biggest mistake. I didn't know how to price the job. And but now, you know, I think we got a good handle on that. And you know, we employ 12 techs. So what we want to talk about today, and I guess some of this, hopefully I didn't bore you too much with my story. Hopefully not you.
Just give you an idea of humble beginnings.
Yeah,
where it came from.
You know. So what we're going to do today is I want to talk about the 3 things that I wish that somebody had told me on what you should do to hire a contractor. The very first thing I recommend to everybody is look at the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, and now there's another new one. We're going to put a slash after BBB and put up Angie's List. Both of these companies keep records of all the different businesses, or most businesses that are reported to them, that are working in whatever profession they're in. And I mean, this goes with anything. They're not even contractors. We're talking, you know, sales, used car salesmen, new car salesmen, you know, even products that are out here. And what's cool about both the BBB and Angie's List, both, you have to almost be invited. I know I can't just call it BBB, I want to be a member. You actually get requested by them to become a member, and Angie's List is the same way. Yeah. We cannot go on the Angie's List website. We are a member of Angie's List, but we can't go to them and say, we want to be a part of it. It don't work that way. Now, once you're a member of Angie's List, and you have a good reputation, they will ask you if you'd like to advertise more with them, which we do.
Yeah.
They've asked us specifically because we have a good rating with Angie's List as well. And we got an A+ rating with the BBB. So the reason you want to go check these out, because even if a contractor is not a member of either of these, the BBB specifically will keep record of somebody that is not a member and tell you of any complaints that they have. That is so important. That right there cuts out everything right off the bat. They're not a member of the BBB, or if BBB has no record of that contractor, I would be very leery. I would have a lot more questions for this specific company. Now, they could be a good company that's just a small startup, just like I was, you know, that is a really good person, just needs a chance, but this is our money. And I've had people screw me over. And some people have a lot of great ambition, and they're going to light the world on fire, but they just don't have the follow through. They can talk a hell of a game, but they don't have a lot of follow through. So definitely, that's the first thing I'm going to say. There's a BBB. And before we go on to the next one, I want to tell people how serious this is with the BBB. We are a member, so what they do is the BBB sends to us a sheet like this every month that is basically telling about, you know, what's going on in our local economy here in Toledo, but also tell us about things you should do, you know, like this one right at the bat says stopping scams in 2013, and about don't believe job offers that promise free easy money, and, you know, just be leery of that. But one of the things, the reason I'm bringing this up is the BBB also gives a list from 1 to 70 of all the complaints, the top complaints, from 1 being the high, 70 being the least, of problem contractors, you know, dealerships, whatever. I'm going to only talk about the top 5, and the top 5 read as this. The 5th one, I'm going to go from 5 and up. You have paving and cement contractors. Number 4, heating and AC contractors. Number 3, roofing and gutter contractors. 2, lawn, garden, and tree service. And the number one area of complaints come from remodeling contractors.
Which happen to be us.
And we are a remodeling contractor. I actually, you know, I feel bad for what, I guess this is, and I'm going to show you how significant this is. Number 1, if you notice the pattern here, these are contractors that work on your home. That's why we stress, go to the BBB. They keep how many complaints. Now this is the kicker. Over the past 12 months, because these numbers come over the past 12 months, if you go to number 5, the paving and cement contractors, they had a total of 11,706 complaints. Now that's with all contractors. That's taking every single contractor. If they had a complaint from the BBB, they keep a tally. So 11,706 complaints from paving and cement contractors over the past 12 months. We go to remodeling contractors, which is the top slot. Over 1 year, there was 33,125 complaints over the past 12 months. And this is an area that you're going to use your contractors the most. You need that bathroom remodeled, that kitchen remodeled, and I think that we have had you know, we hear horror stories all the time. I mean, we hear
jobs half done, contractors not showing up.
Taking money, never showing back up. That's a big one where they paid money down.
That's another big reason for checking these contractors. A lot of these larger projects, you're putting a deposit down, and then they're flying the coop.
So the first thing is, so I wanted to stress to you that the BBB, number 1, keeps track of all the complaints and how serious it is that you need to check. Remodeling contractors and all contractors in general, them are the top 5 areas for complaints in the Better Business Bureau. So check with them before you hire a contractor. So the next thing I want to talk about is, if you're going to hire a professional contractor to work on your home, make sure they carry both workman's comp insurance and general liability insurance, both those insurances. Those insurances are there to protect you. It's not necessarily as much to protect the contractor as it is to protect the homeowner or business. And I'm going to talk about both of them. Let's start with workman's comp. A lot of people think, why is it so important for me to have this contractor have workman's comp? I was told that it's to protect their workers. It is. It definitely is there to protect their workers. But this is the ugly side of it. If a company does not carry workman's comp insurance, and I decide to hire that contractor to work on my home, and they get hurt, in the eyes of the law, if these people go to the hospital and they say, where were you working? I was working for Nick Carpenter at his house. I am technically the employer at that time, and I am responsible for their wages until they get better. Maybe they don't get better. So here you just wanted to have that light fixture installed in your home. They fall off the ladder, a $50 job. They break a vertebrae in their back. They might not be able to work for the next 6 months to a year. You are, if they really push the envelope here, are responsible to not only pay for their medical expenses, but their lost wages during that time. That is why workman's comp is so important towards everything, you know, when
That's
you're hiring.
a lot of people don't know.
They don't know that. They just think that it's just another legality the government's putting in place. No, this is here to protect you as a homeowner. The next one, let's talk about this, is general liability insurance. This one is so important. If this person decides that, I wouldn't even say we use the word decides there. If he ends up making a mistake, and let's say he's done plumbing, soldering some pipes together, and poof, your house goes up in flames. Something happens. The general liability insurance is there for that the contractor carries to cover your home. Because there's really, if something happens in your house, if he doesn't have it, your homeowner's insurance is going to have to kick in to pay for this. And number one, your rates are going to go up. Number two, what's bad about that if they don't carry general liability insurance, I actually talked to one of our reps that we work with, Romy Brown over at State Farm, and I said, well, Romy, the thing is what happens if you do hire a contractor and they don't carry general liability insurance, and you find out that it was a contractor, not the homeowner, that caused this problem, would you still cover the claim? And he kind of didn't say too much, and there's a gray area there. Because if they also want to be sticklers, they can say that you took it upon yourself to hire this person that didn't carry general liability insurance. You are now responsible to rebuild your own home or not paying nothing.
There's a gray area you don't want to get caught up in.
No, I mean, you just want to make sure that these people carry general liability insurance to protect you. Every one of these two things here, workman's comp and liability insurance, is there to protect you. Make sure they carry it. You don't need the headache. It doesn't cost you anything more. I mean, that's something they have to carry to do business. We do a lot of commercial work. We can't even step into like a Best Buy or something like that without carrying this. They won't even let them on the floor. Like, you got to go. I mean, it does. We have to carry it. And if you're a professional company and you're not carrying these things, I would be very good. First of all, I don't know how professional they are, and I don't want to sound rude by saying that. But the thing is that if you're a professional company, you are going to be asked to work on these commercial stores like Toys R Us and stuff, and they won't let you work on their stores without that. So just keep that in mind. The next thing, one of the last things I want to talk about, and I always say it's three things. These are just a general quick three overview things. If you're going to do a project, let's say you're remodeling your kitchen, get 3 bids. You have to get 3 bids. I strongly suggest it. Now I say you have to, you don't have to do anything. Let's reiterate that. But you need to make sure, if you're going to get a kitchen remodel, think about getting 3 bids. And the fact of the matter is, you don't get your kitchen remodeled every day. You get a kitchen done maybe once or twice during the life that you're in that home. So how do you know you're getting the best deal? You don't. You know, this is a way to keep honest people honest. You get 3 separate bids. Then after you get those bids, maybe you get a guy that's got the lowest bid. Then I'm going to go back and say, you carry general liability, you carry workman's comp. Well, if they don't carry that, I'm going to throw your bid away. The next thing is, I'm going to check to see if they're a member of the BBB or Angie's List and see what kind of complaints they have. It's real simple.
It might be a reason why they have the lowest bid.
So it's very important to get 3 bids. It keeps honest people honest. And, you know, you want to get the best deal, but you also don't want to get screwed over. You know, it's really important that you think about these things whenever you're doing doing these projects in your home, because this is going to help take a lot of that anxiety out. The bottom line is when you hire a contractor, just like I've hired contractors in the past, I still have to hire separate contractors. I'm a licensed remodeler by trade, but I'm not a licensed electrician. So if I need a service panel upgraded, or I got to run, maybe I built a new pole barn or something, they got to run electric out there. I don't do that. not licensed to. I'm not even going to get myself into that hairball. So I got to hire an electrician. I have to go through the same process. And this is what I always go through because I don't like the fact of somebody coming to my home I don't know. And like we said before, is that a lot of people can talk a great game, but there's no follow through. They could be the greatest salesman ever and sell you that they're, you know, all these goods that they can do, but they can't deliver the product. So, you know, we're trying to do this so that when you do a project, it should be I'm not going to say really it's going to always be a fun experience, but it should be at least an enjoyable experience. So at the end, you have this great product that you paid for, you're happy with. You don't have all, you know, if there is a callback, let's say they missed something, you should be able to call this company. They come right back and fix it. I think that speaks worlds to a company. If there's an issue and then you can just make a quick phone call, they're like, I'm sorry, we'll be right there, and they send somebody out, maybe knowing themselves, like I've done it many times.
At the end of the day, everybody's human, things happen.
You know, accidents happen. So I guess what the last thing I want to talk about is that, you know, these are the 3 steps that we recommend that people do. But the thing that we've always encouraged is that from the start of this company, and I've preached to you since you've been here, is that, you know, we're a professional company here at A+ Building Maintenance. And we always have strived to show the difference because we were in the same shoes you were at one time, and a lot of us still, all of us still hire separate contractors to do work around our own homes. Is that we want to always portray us being a professional company, and you know, I think that's what we've done. I mean, I think that's one of the greatest compliments that I could get from a customer is that how professional one of my men were and stuff like that. What do you think about all this, Glenn?
At the end of the day, there's a lot of projects that you might have coming up, and there's a lot of people that you can choose from. It's no different from used car salesmen. They get a bad rep, but there's always going to be a few out there that are good. And taking care of these 3 steps is going to help you weed through that and give you a chance to get your project in the right direction. If you have any questions, please feel free to call down to A+, 419-478-1542. Estimates are free, and we'd be more than happy to help you with anything you have going on.
And please, by all means, go to our website, ToledoHandyman.com. A lot of before and after photos of stuff that we do. You know, if you ever even have a question, the phone number, 419-478-1542, call us. You're going to catch either Glenn or myself. I'm always trying to be available. I'm on the road quite a bit. Give us a call.
Yeah, it's hard to nail down, but if he's available, he'll talk to you.
I'll be more than happy. So until next time, guys, keep up the good work.